This is BlissVille, Misadventures in BlissVille, and I'm David Lawler. Found footage is literally just that, footage found. You're walking on the street, you stop at a corner, there's a garbage can on the corner. You take a peek inside like you would, and you see a stack of videotapes or even discs, but they're not labeled in the conventional sense. These aren't copies of Night Patrol or Jaws released by video companies. These aren't attractive-looking tapes with glossy slipcovers and keep cases. These are BASF, Maxell, Sony tapes. They look like blanks until you see the sticker on the side, a handwritten label that reads, "DARCY'S CONFIRMATION AGE 7, St. Joseph's Church, Astoria, December 15th, 1996. Or something similar, Pop Renovates the Garage, July 6, 1992. Or something else, something mysterious. Maybe there's no label. Maybe there's just some adhesive material and faded paper stains on the casing. A curious mind would pick up that tape, take it home, and play it, just to see what it could be. This never happened to me. I never found a stack of tapes. I've thrown out plenty of tapes. And maybe if you peruse a landfill, you might come across a few interesting things. But I don't think any of them were personal footage, just maybe a worn-out copy of Sunday night programming on Fox or Buffy the Vampire Slayer reruns. I don't know. My guest tonight is Mark Jeacoma, a man who cases tag sales, haunts thrift stores, and digs through tapes. Speaking to him about it, this is one of the very first things we spoke about when I got my Skype hookup. We were talking. And I know this is a passion and a hobby of sorts, and he's here to share some of that passion. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for inviting me on your show, David.
How was 2014 for you?
2014 has been great.
That's just that's amazing.
I'm cracking myself up for no reason. I'm sorry.
I have to ask this because in 2 days, I believe, right after we record this, I'm going to be there's a special bonus episode of BlissVille coming out, basically, and I'm calling it 2014 Year in Hell. I basically go on and on about my grievances during the year and all the horrible things that happened to me and my family. It's kind of like a Festivus, except there's no pole or wrestling at the end. So,
is there a hug at least?
I don't know that there was. Maybe I was talking to my friend Colin, and he kept patting me on the back every time I shared a particularly devastating story. But I'm an avid, rabid fan of Mark's podcast with Christopher Hassler, a VHS Rewind, and I also write for the site.
You don't really have to mention Christopher. If you can leave him out of this if you don't mind. No, I'm kidding.
I also write for the site thanks to your incredible eye for talent and the personal magnetism I exude. So one of the very first things we talked about was this found footage phenomenon. This seems to be a lot more than a rummage sale, and what you found is really amazing. So
I don't know about amazing. I mean, I found quite a few things that
you told me a couple
pleasantly
of
surprised.
Very spooky stories about this stuff. So the first thing I want to ask is what led you down that path, specifically your interest in this?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if I can pinpoint exactly what it is. I mean, going back to, the days of the Blair Witch, you think immediately, oh, this is, what a cool idea,
Yeah.
Find something so haunting. But, like you said, how often do you go and even buy blank videotapes at a garage sale? Those are usually the thing that people walk past. Right. Or the thing that you're throwing out at the end of the garage sale because nobody wanted it.
Yeah. It looks like garbage. It doesn't look like anything you want to pick up. It looks like it might, if I were in that situation, I wouldn't want to pick them up because I'm afraid they might mess up my VCR.
Right. And this is why I own so many VCRs and different video cameras. Because when I go to a garage sale, there are three things I look for. And that's the video game section, looking for something, cool like that, VCRs and videotapes. There's usually some videotapes, and people always want. I think $1 is still too much for a videotape that's not labeled. But I'll tell you what my favorite kind of videotape is to find when there's no label and doesn't appear to have a marking. When you hold it on an angle and you see that somebody wrote something in black Sharpie on black plastic. Mm-hmm. To me, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so stupid, but at the same time, it's such a mystery because you now know something is definitely on here.
Right.
So I usually will just buy these things up. I'll usually talk them down to like $3 for $1.
They'll actually give you the hard sell on this stuff?
Yeah, because, I don't know. I guess I could just keep it. Now, very often I'll just walk away.
Right.
And then you say, all right, how much? What? Come on, let's be realistic here.
Right. If you want to keep it, put it back down in your basement. Don't put it on display for sale. You're looking to get rid of stuff usually at tag sales, right?
That's Long Island, So one of the things I found, I was at one of these outside flea markets, and this guy was selling just a big pile of videotapes, like a gypsy selling stuff. It was just thrown out there. And I came across this an 8mm from a camcorder inside of an adapter. So I'm like, ooh, the adapter. But I didn't kind of notice there was a tape in there. And I'm looking, I'm like, wow, there is a tape in there. So he took $1 for it, thinking that was a regular VHS tape, which maybe I conned him a little bit, but that's fine.
That's great, If you could just take advantage of somebody's ignorance in that and get yourself a free adapter out of it.
Yeah, exactly. So I came home, put new battery in it, and ends up it's somebody's high school graduation. And I'm just, I really have to digitize that and really watch it. And that was one of the first times I got something really, really good. Maybe it's the first thing. I mean, I've gotten a lot of weird videos in my life.
It's very strange that people would throw that stuff out.
Right.
Because it's family, you want to show this, this is before we had YouTube. I know a lot of this, is now being done with YouTube. Like I did my Christmas special with Regan, and I put video clips up there, and basically, a lot of people looked at it, but strangers too, which is kind of strange. Anyway,
I privatize all of mine.
I put it as part because it was part of the show, so.
Oh, well, that's different.
But also, like her Regan's grandparents watched it. They watched they got to see their granddaughter being all precocious and smart and everything like that.
Well, what you can do is unlist it so that nobody can search for it unless nobody can view it unless they have the specific link. That's what I do. That way you can send it to somebody and they can still view it, and it just doesn't come up randomly.
That'd really help if I was like trying to get if I was trying to sneak in on my wife in the shower with the camera or something and then put something.
Exactly.
Oh, I better privatize this. This is what I know. I didn't know much about found footage except for something called the Found Footage Film Festival, and they would play, among other things, they played one of the shows that you and Chris did, which was How to Get Revenge. That was part of the Found Footage Film Festival, as was.
See, I feel as though now I love the Found Footage Festival, which I can't say 3 times fast, but
yeah.
I think that it's a misleading title because it's not really found footage. It's more like forgotten footage.
Yeah, that's what I would say. It's probably like along the lines of a lot of the stuff that you look at on VHS Rewind, like Bing Crosby's Christmas special, things like that. This is stuff that people forget, but. It's, they're trying to, bank on it, so they want it to have some name recognition. You're not going to get much name recognition showing, graduations and proms, but
no, because the stuff I've watched. Oh.
I had known more about found film, which was a collection of photographs. Basically, people would find, and there's a really good site called foundphotos.net where you can just look at millions of these photos that are found in the garbage. And then
that's interesting.
There's a band called the Trachtenberg Family Slideshow Players. I love them. They use found photographs as part of their show. They use them in slides that play as they do their music. That's their whole act.
I like that. That's really nice. I think I've never heard of that site. It's called foundphotos.com?
Foundphotos.net.
Oh, .net. I really, really like that idea. Oh wow, yeah, it's a picture of somebody's dental exam.
But this isn't like a burgeoning movement. It's been around for years because of the found film thing. Now we have the found footage, we have videotapes, and we have a lot more access to these pictures because of the internet and the films and the videos. There are several YouTube channels that are devoted to this stuff too. I usually went for photos more because I think pictures tell more of a story than video. At least it's a picture in your head that tells the story. There's a picture of a guy with a dumbfounded expression on his face looking at somebody we can't see. There's an angry woman with a glass of wine in her hand. There are several photographs of Ground Zero during the Reconstruction. So I like the faded Polaroid-esque quality of throwaway photographs. Now for you, is there something about the accumulation of other people's memories that appeals to you?
Yeah, I would say sometimes there's the discovery and maybe the reliving of a stranger's memories, that there's something that I find appealing. Although if it's not in English, and I have another example where I was at a thrift shop and I'm looking at this videotape and I think it just said my trip or something like that.
My trip, yeah.
I forget what it said. It said something very vague like that. I came home, popped it in, and it's this woman. It's a 2-hour. Somebody edited this together with like video. Like this is like hardcore like video editing. Mm-hmm. It's a 2-hour tape of somebody's trip from some Spanish-speaking country, the flight to LA, then somewhere in this, like I'm going to say it was like Guatemala, right, where you're walking around this a relative's house, and the house is terrible, it seems. It's very run down, but they seem so happy. Back to LA, then the flight back to wherever she came from. And I watched most of it. I'm going to say I watched 80% of it. But I really had no idea what was really going on because everyone's Spanish speaking.
So this could have been like some family's personal journey back to a place.
It was one person though. It was really focused on one woman.
I just, it seems to me that footage. I understand the notion of taking home videos of your family, but then keeping them because they should be kept for posterity or something.
Yes.
You take video of your family, mm-hmm, and you post them, and there is I don't think, is there a way you can't really remove it, can you? Well, I guess you can remove it, but
what happens?
It would never be lost. It could never be lost in a way if you're sharing it with the public.
In my eyes, when I look at these videotapes of this woman. Or I have this other thing where it's a woman, it's a young girl, maybe 8 years old, dance recital. Mm-hmm. I bought a camcorder off somebody on Craigslist. Mm-hmm. I got the camera, I came home, and it has this videotape in. I tried to contact the seller, and no response because he took down his ad, so I had no way to contact this person.
Right.
I even had a phone number, and just nothing ever came of it. Like, I tried to call it, didn't have a voicemail. Tried texting it, nothing. So I have this like little girl's dance recital. That was the only copy, probably, or at least the master copy.
And he had absolutely no interest in retrieving that tape. Otherwise, he might have contacted you or figured out some way to get in touch with you.
I mean, he can have it back. It's just a matter. And what do I do with that? See, I think aside from that video, when I find these like the woman who did all this traveling, and the I also have a video of this guy is just taking driving around with his father, in my neighborhood actually, which is very strange.
Yes.
He almost passes my house.
Very Lynchian.
Wow. This is back in the late '80s. He's driving. I guess his dad is helping him drive, and that you see him parallel parking. And then on another tape I have from the same collection that I bought, they're opening Christmas gifts. It's a very strange thing, but I always think, all right, what is the reason why people throw this stuff away, or rather donate it? And I guess maybe when somebody dies,
that's what I was thinking, that maybe that these memories are just too painful, and you just want them out. But then,
and that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that these are sad to me.
Okay, I love the idea of saving other people's memories, not in a creepy Philip K. Dick way, but because. And this is a rather personal story for me. Around Christmas of 1988, I believe I was 16 years old. I might have been 15 or 16. December the 11th, we were evicted from our apartment in New York. We had lived there less than a year. My mother had moved us up to New York from Philadelphia because she had a job, but then she lost a job, and you lose a job in New York, you lose everything pretty much.
Yeah.
And
how old were you? I'm sorry.
I believe I was 16.
Okay.
And our stuff, which included numerous photo albums, pictures of me when I was a child, stuff like that, was put into storage. And we were permitted to keep our items in storage. I think it was in a facility in Harlem, East 111th Street. But we were permitted to keep our stuff, provided we pay the monthly fee. After a couple of months, my mother just stopped paying. And when you stop paying, your possessions go into forfeiture and are then, turned over to either another holding facility, or they're sold at auction, or they're dispersed, or they're thrown out. So because of this, I have no childhood photos of myself.
Wow.
So I like to hope that those items turned up in a collection like yours. At least they live on. Otherwise, I fear they might have been destroyed. So I like to think some complete stranger is going through my childhood pictures right now, probably, while listening to Buckwheat, Zydeco, and masturbating. But that's my wish,
That's my hopes. Those are my dreams.
So, that's what I had, and I don't really have it anymore. The only way I could ever find any childhood photos of myself, I think, is if I contact any of my living relatives, but a lot of them are, probably not with us anymore.
Right. Now, so it would comfort you to think that these images are out there in a stranger's hands?
Yes, I would like, they should live on. They shouldn't be destroyed. I cannot think of anything more upsetting or more depressing than destroying stuff like this. This stuff should be kept for some kind of posterity's sake. Maybe in like 40 years, some young person will say, I found a picture of you, and this looks a lot like you. Is this you? And I could look at it and say, oh my God, that's me when I was 5 years old or something, No,
that's, I hope some of that one day is recovered.
I really hope it would.
It's out there, and that's the thing that's kind of strange is, like I'm proof that some of this stuff does turn up.
Yeah.
And also, if I could figure out who this stuff belonged to, I would contact them.
If you want to find something good, you don't want to, like we were discussing, if someone had died and someone would rather never see that stuff again, and then you went up to them, they might be a little bit upset.
That's their problem.
Yeah.
No,
I think, okay.
So I got into this stuff, pretty deeply. For a short amount of time, I was really obsessed with finding other people's memories. And I'm not really sure why I became so obsessed with it. Maybe it was what could be on that tape, I still have tapes I have to go through. So I was on Reddit on one of these sites, and I digitized one of the found footage pieces that I really like, the one where the guy kind of passes my house, because I just thought that was just so strange. And this guy sends me a private message, it was totally underground type of strange, I'm going to contact you, I'm not connected to an account, but I'm going to give you advice about whatever, about an underground thing. So he says that there's a secret torrent group called Society Glitch that is very difficult to get membership to. It's very difficult to contact anybody in there. It's just impossible. Or basically, he's telling me a place exists that you can't get into, and you should try to get into it.
like the orgy scene from Eyes Wide Shut, where you have to use a password to get in.
And I'm thinking, I don't want to get into snuff stuff. I don't want to, get too far into this stuff. Or,
well,
that's what I'm saying now.
It sounds alluring. It's very alluring, especially with the concept of snuff in a way, because found footage and snuff kind of, they're distant cousins. You would say to yourself, I don't want to see anything like this, and then you just might turn and try to get a look at it, Because part of, I guess, the appeal of found footage is you don't know what you're going to get.
Which is why I became obsessed with getting a membership to Society Glitch. So I finally, dug around far enough, and I finally found them, and I dug around and contacted the, webmaster, begged for a membership, and I had to write a paragraph or two about why I wanted to be a member, and they just gave me a membership.
So you had to write a statement of purpose to get into this thing.
Yeah, and it's a pretty small group. It's maybe 500 people. It's not that many people. And I'm looking at it right now, and for instance, one of the things, they have an XXX section. I'm like, well, what could be in that?
Yeah.
And it says, a quickie with cousin, 2001.
Cool.
It's just an example. I'm just going to read you a little thing. I have this Uranian tape from 2002 until now. I've never seen this tape on the internet. It's a Persian guy who takes his virgin cousin to home, and they have a quickie.
Oh, wow.
Stuff like that. But, there's only 8 things that fall into that kind of category. The other stuff blew me away. Stuff like 3 girls from St. Mary College dance to Humpty. It's stuff like My Prom or Thanksgiving with the O'Connors. These are all...
But is this... Okay, this is is this found footage, or is this...
This is all legitimate found footage.
So it's not, but we don't know the origin of where it came from. These are the labels.
People give
right?
as much as they can, but very often it's from garage sales. And if I can get you in there, I will, because you should look for your own stuff. But they also mix in a lot of the weirder, strange, like hard to find videos, like the stuff that you find on, the Found Footage Festival.
Mm-hmm.
But this stuff, they even kind of say don't pass this along to them because this is just for us. But I'm not going to be a snob about it.
Right.
But things like this is the Peter Popoff Ministry, which I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
It sounds familiar. I've heard that name before.
Driving Practice with Dad. Oh, that's from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Driving Practice with Dad from 1992. That I uploaded that.
So you contributed, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you need some level of a ratio. So I thought, all right, I'll put it up there.
Oh, I see. So they want to see some of yours before they show you some of theirs.
But even like raw Atlanta Olympics 1996 bomb coverage.
Cool.
Stuff that, you really, really you can't just go and type in somewhere and find really cool footage. So anyway, that to me is the real definition of found footage. Going to a video store and finding Revenge with Linda Blair hosting is an incredible find. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite videos. But is it found footage? I don't know.
It's only found in so much as it was buried for a long time. Somebody finds it again.
Right.
That is unusual, because How to Get Revenge actually was very popular. It was a very popular rental. When I worked at Blockbuster, we had a whole row, and people would rent it. They love it.
I never saw the video before, and they didn't have it at my Blockbuster.
People took it as campy and tongue-in-cheek and humorous, although it's just bizarre who would come up with that idea, but I think it's brilliant. I mean, it's something
I shared it with a friend of mine just today, which is funny, and he was just blown away by it.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk a little bit about found footage in the genre sense of movies, how movies have now used it. It has become a big thing as far as a narrative is concerned. And they say the first admitted use of alleged found footage was in a movie called Cannibal Holocaust, which was purported to tell a story. It was made in the 70s. It's a zombie flick or something like that, which purported to tell the story of previously thought lost film footage. It was a hoax. It was, it was bull. It was basically hyped to sell the movie, and it wound up being very popular.
Very realistic footage.
Well, they probably thought the footage looked so bad, even amateur, that they thought they should sell it like it was real. So
I never saw it. Actually, did you?
Yes, yeah. It's very gory. It's very disturbing. You can find it anywhere. You can find it.
I have a copy. I just never watched it.
A lot of those film buffs like to say that Cannibal Holocaust was the inspiration for this subgenre, but I think it was actually Blair Witch Project that really brought it to the forefront. Blair Witch Project, along with The Sixth Sense, are the two most influential movies of the last 15 years. Every other horror movie being made is basically a ripoff of either Blair Witch or Sixth Sense. Sometimes they're better, but they're still ripoffs nonetheless. So
I couldn't agree more. And
you've got like hundreds of movies that use that formula.
And Blair Witch, I mean, it goes down. It's almost a cliche to say it now, but they were the forefathers of internet viral marketing.
Yes. Absolutely, their website.
I mean, do you remember seeing that footage back in, what was it, 96? I'm not really sure. 98?
I think it was 99.
I mean, do you remember seeing
saw the movie
the thing?
Several times in the movie theater because at the time it really did scare the hell out of me, actually, because I thought it was, something, and they were selling it as being real.
And we didn't know. That was another thing. Like, there was no definitive answer. Is it real or not? Is it real or not? Just tell me. Just tell me. And it's like, nothing.
Yeah, it was. They kind of sold a whole lot of nothing with that, but it made money. The movie cost like, I don't know,
$84.
No. I'm going to say between 15 and 20 grand, I think, to finally finish it, and then it wound up making like 200 million at the box office. So it was like the most successful independent movie since Halloween and things like that.
And we're talking just a DV cam.
Yeah, I think it was high 8. The video footage was high 8, and they shot with a 16mm Arriflex that they had.
So I owned better equipment than this thing was shot.
Yeah, these were just like
time.
Kids with, they had very little money, and the real money was spent in pre-production, and then Lionsgate put together a really great advertising campaign with the filmmakers. You know, they trusted the filmmakers to sell the movie, which is very rare these days. You don't find that. So you get like movies like The Last Horror Movie, The Curse, The Hunt, Paranormal Activity series, all uses that. Cloverfield, which I really liked. I don't know if you've seen that. Cloverfield, very good movie.
I tried getting through it. I just couldn't get through it.
I liked it because it was, number one, it was not Blair Witch. They actually show the monster in this thing, and it looked fantastic. It was like a Godzilla movie if shot, you know, with a little tiny camera.
Also, to those who don't know me, I can't get through very many movies. This isn't just like this one movie. I have a very difficult time liking things. So, you know, I don't want you to think, you know, well, what's his problem with this one movie, or or just what David likes.
But he likes Star Wars. I will give him that. He's a Star Wars lunatic, as am I, because every now and then I listen to the Star Wars episode. I don't know why I keep going back to that, because you're trying to explain to Chris, who isn't a Star Wars fan, why Star Wars is so popular, and he is not getting it. He's not understanding. He I know it's a cultural touchstone and everything, but it's really bad. You know,
same conversation with Kiss. You know, trying to explain why Kiss is so important.
I think a lot of this has to do with our childhood. We just we cannot grow up when it comes to the things that we loved when we were kids.
Yeah, I mean, we do hold on to these things. They're our comfort, our blanket. You know, it's the thing that makes us who we are. I forget who said it. I think it was in the John Cusack movie where he owns a record store.
High Fidelity.
And it's meant to be kind of a jab at the people who work in record stores, but I kind of take it to heart sometimes. And it's not what you are like, it's who you like.
Well, I think there are some things that we like that we liked when we were kids that are just plain better.
But I think the things that we like do define us sometimes.
Well, it's like when you listen to vinyl. You know, vinyl, when you listen to a record on a record player, for some reason it just it really blows you away listening to it compared to like a compact disc. Compact discs are more efficient, they're nicer to look at and everything, but
they don't scratch as easily.
No, yeah, but oh my God, when they skip, it was terrible. Like the first personal compact disc player I ever had skipped like crazy. I mean, all you had to do was look at it funny and it would start skipping.
Yeah, I had my first CD ever was Motley Crue's Too Fast for Love, and I somehow got a scratch on it or something. And to this day, I cannot listen to that particular song. I think it was the third track, "Come On and Dance," without, and I know exactly when that skip is about to happen. And we're talking like, 25 years ago.
Okay, now did you notice that those early CDs that you purchased were way thicker than the ones they sell these days? They're like you could take a couple people out if you spin it just right. Nowadays the CDs are a lot thinner, but my first two CDs that I ever purchased were both at the same time. I got Metallica's Ride the Lightning, and the Gene Simmons solo album from Kiss.
All right, two classics right there.
And they're thick, and you can kill people with them. And it's also, I have some very old vinyl records that were back from when they were first pressed, and they were also incredibly thick as well. So they cheapened it a little bit by thinning out the plastic.
With vinyl, the heavier the vinyl is, the more sound it can actually contain.
Well, the more information.
Right, because you always see like a different amount of grams, like 120 grams or something. And
they'll sell those on Amazon for like $50 a pop.
Yeah, like the new releases and stuff. But I have bootlegs from the UK of the Stones and a lot of the stuff from the UK. It's heavy as hell. Mm-hmm. And then you compare it to the stuff that they were popping out in the early 80s, late 70s here. And it's like, wow, you could literally bend the stuff here.
Yeah, and then also like the artwork. Like when they do reprints of these vinyl, the artwork isn't that great. It looks really cheap. It's printed on a very cheap cardboard, but if you go back and find like the original stuff, it's printed on very nice cardstock.
Yeah, everything goes downhill eventually with the record companies.
Yes, and the printing quality as much. I mean, I forgot what it was. I think I was listening to a Three Sides of the Coin podcast, and they were talking about how they finally released Psycho Circus on vinyl. It was like 180 gram vinyl, but the packaging was so cheap, It was like a very bad cardboard.
Everything
stock.
was cheap. Everything was cheap.
But they were charging $60 for it. So, but and
Yep.
the sad thing is people will buy this stuff. So
Back in '96, they had the Kiss tour where you can go to the Kiss convention or something where they would actually perform. You know, it was actually Gene and
this
Paul.
was this was before the reunion, I think.
Yes,
and this is
this
what
is
led
right
into the
before.
reunion, right?
Sure, yep. And they actually reference a few times because there's a QA where you're just standing in a bunch of groups of guys, of course, maybe 8 girls, and they just pass the microphone around. And all of a sudden, you're asking questions to Gene Simmons, and it's like, what? And I'm carrying around the 9 pounds of History, which I bought that day, which I just kind of pulled out today, and it's funny because it has the signature from Mark St. John. Very strange.
Wait, Mark St. John.
Yeah, I'm wondering why is the signature in there? He was barely a member.
Okay, yeah, I know who that is. That's
I have 5 signatures.
That's the guy who died. He died recently.
No. That's Eric. Mark St. John died.
Yeah, Mark St. John died. He was the one who had arthritis, some weird arthritis. He recorded the album.
I
with them.
remember he that's why he had to leave the band because his hand blew up like crazy.
Yeah, he did die.
Wow. Yeah, well, I have a signature in my History.
Well, there you go,
Bruce
man.
Kulick and the other guy. I don't know.
You'll be able to retire on that signature, I think.
Yeah, maybe I can get the $150 I paid for it originally.
maybe.
Actually, it's a very poor binding on that book. Believe it or not, very, very poor. Almost everyone I know who has a copy of History, it's falling apart.
Oh, I don't have one of those. I have a Taschen book. You know, Taschen makes these enormous coffee table books. And I spent a lot of money for it, too. It was a book on Stanley Kubrick, and it had all this stuff in it. The binding is in pretty good shape, but the problem is you have to hold it a certain way. You cannot let it rest independently on any part of it because it will fall apart.
Yeah, you have to open it gingerly.
It's 1,000,000 pages, but it's a wonderful book. I love having it. So,
but back to the whole found footage thing. I find that found footage is thrown around a little too much. The expression. I'd like to see some real found footage being thrown around and some home movies. Now, you said I mentioned something that was creepy, and I'm kind of searching the memory banks here, and I'm thinking...
You mentioned something about...
chair?
A chair. A man sitting in a chair for a second. You thought that it looked like he was testing out his camera, but then he got up, and then, you would hear a weird sound in the background or something like that.
Yes.
And it was very Ring, I guess. The Ring, which is another kind of found footage movie.
What had happened is I bought a camcorder at an estate sale where a man died. I'm assuming it's the guy on the camera.
Oy.
It was the tape that was in the machine the last time it was used. To me, that's kind of a moment, captured. I guess he was testing the camera. He had set it up.
What kind of a camera was it?
Oh, it's a regular standard. Like a VHS, like full-size VHS.
It was a full-size VHS. It could have been an RCA or a Panasonic.
I think it was an RCA, actually. Kind of a budget one. For $5 though, grab it for the case and all that kind of stuff. And thankfully I had the cassette. Yeah, well, it worked after a bunch of work trying to get the thing. I couldn't get the tape out, and then actually no, you know what? That does not work. The machine, I had to really, really work really hard to get it to open. But that particular one, the batteries are so dead that I had to get some juice into it, and it finally ejected. So I'm looking at the videotape, and it's a guy sitting in a chair testing a camera, and it's just it's going on and on and on and on and on. The phone's ringing in the background, and people are walking around. And I think it must have been for about...
What kind of a room does it look like?
Very plain room. And I'm watching it really late, and I fast-forwarded a little bit. I'm like, I'm just kind of curious. And every once in a while, you hear a car drive by. It's like, that type of sound.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, if this guy just jumps in front of the camera and screams or something, I'm literally going to have a heart attack right now.
Oh, wow.
And I kept thinking, how awesome would it be if he did, though?
Right.
But he doesn't. It just kind of, he gets up, puts his arm, you see an arm kind of reach around and turns it off, and that's it. No, the phone rings. And then you can hear a little bit of talking, then it gets turned off.
He's just sitting
there.
It doesn't seem like he's even aware that he's turned the camera on. Is it just sitting in a chair, maybe?
It's almost like he turned it on and he maybe forgot it was on. He's not really doing anything. It's sitting on like a kitchen chair. It's not like a comfortable, like comfy chair.
This is like, you know, basically we try to ascribe some kind of rationality to what we're watching, especially in that case, because this makes no sense. I mean, a graduation day, a prom, those make sense, you know, but somebody taking video of themselves doing absolutely nothing and nothing is going on, it's almost hypnotic in a way, isn't it, to watch it?
I also came across a videotape of my own that I forgot I taped at a lesbian mud wrestling underground thing.
Okay, Mark, you're gonna digitize that and you're gonna send that to me because I really have to.
I do want to digitize it. I think I would want to remove any references to me in it.
Just
I just don't want to get in trouble for releasing it. I don't know how old these people are. I'm going to assume that they're at least 18.
You know what? If you don't know the source, if you honestly, legitimately don't know the source, then you're fine. I mean, nobody's going to really do anything.
I'm the source. I
like,
filmed it.
This is the kind of stuff that you want to, that, you know, kind of gets the word out on stuff like this. It's like,
right.
If you're talking it up, you know, people are going to like it.
But, you know, like, yeah, that is something I do want to digitize. It's not something you can really put on YouTube because there is nudity and stuff. But and keg stands, the kind of stuff, the kind of party I would never go to personally. It's not my cup of tea. I'm older than everyone that's there. I kind of got pulled there by my roommate at the time.
Right.
And I remember not having a good time.
Was this in the city or in Long Island?
No, this is right here on Long Island. And it was underneath like a strip mall.
I think you know what? I went to a place, oh God, I think
it was it was like a rehearsal studio. And what they did is they filled up a pool with mud. Mm-hmm. And got a DJ and way too many people.
That just sounds like a very beautiful thing. I had gone to like a place called Naked City in Astoria, or maybe it was Long Island City. It was an all-nude place, actually, which means they don't serve you alcoholic beverages. You have to get non-alcoholic. For some reason, if they're all nude, you can't do that. Then they lead you down to a basement where they show these two women basically doing things to each other, and you got to throw money at them to continue to get them to do it. That was the seediest place I've ever been in. I mean, I felt really dirty. I felt like I needed a shower after that. I don't think I was married yet.
That's the equivalent of found footage right there. That's found footage in a nutshell. The kind of feeling that you get when you discover somebody's personal private moment of them like maybe picking their nose or something, and it's like, nobody else is going to see this.
Well, yeah, and also you have the sex tape phenomenon, which has made a lot of people famous who certainly don't deserve it, but that's kind of a found footage in a way. You know, somebody was photographing having sex with somebody like Paris Hilton or Kim Kardashian or something like that, and then they wind up making millions off of it.
Well, the Paris Hilton one, I think, was sold, right? Like the person who was in it sold the tape.
Yes.
But imagine coming across something like that. I never have. I think that's the goal, is to find found footage porn.
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
legitimately. You're like, what the hell is happening now?
Yes, exactly. It's just that you can only hope that it's, you know, shot well enough to...
I don't know if that matters.
I don't know. I can't stand that night vision camera stuff they do sometimes with the weird green and the glowing eyes and all. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much for having me on.
61-minute limit here. And this has been BlissVille. We were talking about found footage with Mark Jeacoma, who I hope will come back and we'll talk about other seemingly sordid stuff.
Absolutely. Anytime you have an opening, I'll be there.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.
All right. Take it easy. Thanks again.